Hello everybody, welcome. I'm Noah2, thank you for watching this video. We have here the Act 5 No Hope Quick Play Solo Clutch Deck Nonsense. That is the title, it cannot be shorter. Don't even suggest such a thing. Following my series, the series since the dawn of time, but updated now, is the fact that we can play this game with success on the hardest difficulty, despite the skill level of our teammates. And that's sort of the fundamental core principle that I've been trying to express in these with my channel, because in these sort of cooperative PvE style games, people always tend to go, man, if only I had better teammates, I could have won that mission, right? Team play has been core to the development of multiplayer games because you can blame someone else other than yourself when you lose, but not with this deck. Not with the, well, maybe with this deck, but for the most part with this deck is all about you playing with random people, not bots, not an organized team necessarily, though it will, of course, anything can work with an organized team. It's about you playing with 3 random people of varied skill, and you having all the tools necessary so that you can beat this campaign, regardless of your teammate's skill level, whether they're alive or dead or what have you. So, or for Act 5 specifically. Act 5 specifically. So, let's get into this. Copper card as our top card here. Hazard pay if you trust yourself. Share the wealth if you want to trust your teammates a little bit more. Money grubbers if you're feeling lucky. Offensive scavenger, double grenade pouch, and then bomb squad. When it comes to having extra things to throw, that's just so critical. You can't die. For the most part, you can't die so long as you still have a grenade to throw. When I say grenade, I mean literally like the frag grenade. That is what we want to have. Bomb squad, but no extra grenade damage beyond this. We actually really value bomb squad, almost simply because it spawns in one more extra grenade. That's how much we love the grenades. But we're not investing into extra grenade damage here because as far as the campaign is concerned, there's not a whole lot there's no forced boss fight for the most part outside of us being in no hope mode. And even then, I just feel like we can sort of get away with it when it comes to these fights. We can sort of get away with it. Even if we did invest a little bit more into our grenade damage, we don't have the grenade damage boosting effect of the bots going down. We're playing with 3 random people, so when it comes to having enough damage to deal with a boss, we are going to have to depend a little bit on our teammates here. But we do have quantity, and that's, I think, it's a little bit more important on some of these missions. And we have Fire in the Hole. This is so much health. Like, Fire in the Hole is one of the best cards in the game. We have lots of grenades to throw. So even if we're not getting finding extra healing supplies, finding an extra offensive item is also like a healing supply for us, right? It's half a pain pill, essentially. Then we go into a run like hell. And we don't have any extra stamina. Act 5, again, doesn't have any real demand for sprint speed or stamina for the most part. It's got a little bit here and there for the finale. You need a little bit extra sprint speed to jump through the trap at the end of Surrounded by the Devils or whatever that mission's called. I can't remember what it's called. Things like that. So we like sprint speed in general. You still want to have some of that sprint speed, speed clutch potential. But some of the missions, like where my flock is captured or chained, as well as like in the depths, which is like an auto scroller. Those are missions that are particularly hard to speed clutch on your own if everyone's died. Having extra sprint speed and stamina, not nearly as valuable. So when it comes to setting up our tool of movement, it's sort of like if we're looking at our deck as a potential list of tools that we can use to beat missions and solve problems. When it comes to sprint speed and stamina, and we want to cut one of those out, we cut out the stamina. Because one, there's more cards that give stamina than there are sprint speed. So if it comes to finding a random card box that gives stamina, that's more likely than finding a sprint speed card in one of those boxes. In addition to that, finding basic cards or purchasing the team upgrade can be a way of circumventing our lack of stamina in general. And so when it comes to over the course of a mission, finding extra sprint speed or finding extra stamina, we're always going to find extra stamina for the most part, right? So we'll cut out a stamina card to fit in something else because the act doesn't really demand it, and we still can build up stamina over time. Next, we have Fill 'em Full Lead and Suppressing Fire with Shredder and Knowledge's Power. We're sort of, this is where our grenade card went, basically. We're stepping away from being like all in on the grenades a little bit because, again, this is a shorter campaign. Was it 6 missions, 5 missions? I can't remember at this point in time. But as far as like getting up to our purple grenades, that's a little bit less likely. And so instead of relying on that RNG a little bit, of having the multiplicity of the damage types with our purple grenades, we'll invest more into having a reliable LMG, which has a ton of DPS potential. I recommend the M249. In fact, I even recommend just using a burn card. It's fun. Use a burn card, get a random LMG. It's kind of fun. I like it a lot. The film full lead suppressing fire and shredder with knowledge is power, just so that we can sort of see how much damage we're doing. We can make educated decisions as to when we need to throw a grenade. In particular, on the mission like where me flock is chained, that is super duper enclosed tight quarters. So dealing with the horde, not really an issue because pretty much everywhere on that map is a comfortable place to fight off the horde. But in Act 5, it seems like the cultists spawn pretty regularly, and the shredder is kind of scary. But the shredder isn't nearly as durable as like a tall boy. So when it comes to dealing with the shredder, it does so much damage on no hope mode that you are scared, that you are tempted to throw a grenade at it. But instead of burning our grenades every single time a shredder shows up, which feels like a lot sometimes, we invested into our primary weapon instead, which is more than capable of, well, shredding them. Shredder, right? What's the shredder? What's the cultist Wolverine guy? What's he called again? Because the shredder is the porcupine guy. Never mind. I can't remember what I'm talking about. But the guy with the Wolverine claws, we fear him because his damage is insane. But instead of having to throw a grenade at him every single time he shows up, we can shoot him with bullets because we've invested into that tool. And it's quite nice. And thus, when it comes to boss fights, we don't really have the ability to grenade dump them anymore, but we can unload into their weak spots. And depending on our weapon and how that goes, as far as leveling up our gun and finding better attachments, there's some real potential for awesome DPS here, even versus breaker bosses and things like that. We even pick up admin reload and cold brew coffee for the convenience of using in the LMG. But there's a lot of potential for just like chaos and nonsense in Act 5 with all the bear traps and the cultist, the duster traps and all the other typical means of spawning extra horde events and things like that. Having the ability to unload our LMG into high priority targets, and then when it needs to reload, we can swap onto our secondary, maintain some amount of full and full lead stacks, preferably a single fire Glock and things like that. Reload our LMG, we can keep putting lead down range. This is just this is a really fun wombo combo of cards here where we just like have a crazy LMG that shoots really fast, and we can reload while still shooting stuff, and it's a lot. It can be really high octane depending on how the map and missions are going and things like that. And so we have our LMG being a really powerful tool here. Then we have On Your Mark and Fresh Bandage. On Your Mark, again, it's just I feel like not having to worry about your ammo is really, really nice. But on Act 5, there is some potential for like you having to fight lots of things without a horde event triggering, because sometimes those phantom hordes are still showing up, especially on maps where like an ogre spawns and you skip fighting the ogre. But we still want to just, as much as we can, squeeze out any bit of extra ammo for ourselves and for our team, because again, we've invested into being able to shoot. If you're running into ammo problems with On Your Mark, don't be afraid of just like running Ammo Mule. Then you'll have a little bit more control over just managing your ammo for yourself. But I still run On Your Mark because we still want to be a little bit of a team player, right? But Ammo Mule if you're having an issue, and if you're still truly having ammo issues, you don't seem to know how to stop shooting your LMG, it's too much fun, pull out Cold Brew Coffee. Pull out Cold Brew Coffee, put an Ammo Mule. But I really like Cold Brew Coffee because when it comes to running an LMG, LMGs have slow reload speed, slow aim speed, slow weapon swap speed. Cold Brew Coffee gives us a little bit of everything that we want when it comes to handling a LMG with, I don't know, righteousness, with comfort, essentially, right? Cold Brew Coffee prevents the chafing when it comes to shooting your LMG, at least for Holly. And then finally, Fresh Bandage, because when it comes to playing with random people, you don't know if you're going to have a support. But this is also a huge economic card. This hopefully means that you end up needing to use a medicine cabinet at least once or twice less often. Can be potentially a 400 800 copper plus value card here. But yeah, again, having the inconsistencies of 3 random teammates, being able to heal yourself and your trauma in between missions is really, really nice, especially if you don't have any supports on your team. And it feels quite good when you get to the beginning of the next mission. Everyone on your team is super traumatized out, but you are highest health bar out there because you got this card. Fresh Bandage has become like a staple of my decks now because I love the convenience of it. I love not needing to worry about where the next medicine cabinet is, about getting to the toolkit room. Sometimes the player who's carrying the toolkit dies, and all of a sudden your opportunity for a medkit cabinet disappears and things like that. So Fresh Bandage just removes pretty much all of the variables, all of the RNG when it comes to staying healthy over time. Really, really like it. So this is the deck for Act 5. We still have all of our typical tools for the most part. Some resource generation, our grenade slots, our movement, speed, and things like that. But we end up cutting some corners for this really nice setup for an LMG deck that can be really powerful. Especially versus the cultists specifically. Because being able to kill and stumble the cultists with a weapon is totally possible. So we invest some cards into it, and now we can save grenades for tall boys and bosses and other scary things like that. Very, very nice. Let me know what you guys think of this deck, if it works out or not for you guys, and I'll see you in the future.